It is inevitable that if you're breathing, you are going to have trouble in life. In fact, the oldest book in the Bible, the book of Job, he said, man that is born of a woman is but of few days and full of trouble. I got a story I want to share with you that might help somebody out there this weekend. There once was a young carpenter named Tommy. He needed a job. There was a man named Mr. James who had an old farmhouse that he wanted remodeled. So he hired Tommy to fix up his old farmhouse. And that day, as Tommy got started on the job, trouble began to happen. First, he busted the handle out of his hammer. Second, his old skill saw quit working. Third, whenever he got ready to go home and be with his family, his truck wouldn't start. Full of trouble. So Mr. James said, hey, that's no problem, Tommy. I'll take you home. Don't worry about it. Tommy got in Mr. James's car, and as they were going to Tommy's house, Tommy just stared out the window because of the bad day that he had experienced. But when they pulled up in Tommy's driveway, Tommy looked over to Mr. James and said, Mr. James, would you come inside my house? I want you to meet my family. So Mr. James obliged and he went in his house. But before Tommy walked in the door, he was walking up his stairs and he had a tree that was coming up right by his front door. And Tommy took both of his hands and he touched the limbs of that tree like that, and then he walked in his house. When Mr. James watched Tommy interact with his family, he picked his kids up and he smiled and he was happy. He hugged his wife with a big smile on his face, and his countenance had completely changed. Mr. James met his family and stayed for a few moments and then said he needed to get back home. And as he was going out the door, Tommy said, I'll walk you out to your car, Mr. James. And he walked out there with him. And before Mr. James got in his car, his curiosity had gotten the best of him. And he said, Tommy, he said, what was that you done to that tree when you walked by and put your hands on it? And Tommy said, oh, Mr. James, that is my trouble tree. He said, every day when I come in from work, I hang up all my troubles on that tree, and I don't take them into the house, and I go in and I enjoy the evening with my family. You see, in this life, we are going to have troubles, but I want to tell somebody today that you don't need to let your troubles hinder the life that God has given you. Life is a precious gift, and Satan would like nothing more than to hinder you with the problems, troubles, and trials of this world. But I've got a message to the Christian believer today. I wanted to tell you that you have a trouble tree, and it's called the old rugged cross of Calvary. I wanted to tell you that Jesus Christ, the Son of God, suffered and died on that trouble tree so that He could take your sin, so that He could take your shame, and so that He could take your trouble. The Word of God itself says, casting all your care upon Him, for He careth for you. The old black writer said, take your burdens to the Lord and leave it there. I'm telling somebody today that you need to visit the trouble tree, which is the cross of Calvary.